Hello everyone, this is Shmuel from CFOIC, and today we are standing just a couple of days before Rosh Hashanah, the holy day, and I was asked to share with you a little bit of my experience in the holiday, and maybe some thoughts. So Rosh Hashanah, I feel, is like the Super Bowl of all days of the year. It is stronger for me personally than Yom Kippur. It is stronger than Seder night in Passover. And it's literally a day that is a defining day of the year. Why? Just in the basic understanding of the day, we are finishing a year, and there's a process that starts in the last month of the year, Elul, where we start to reflect about what happened this year. Where were we? What did we do with ourselves? What were the expectations from ourselves, and what was the actual achievements? I think that most of the people generally need to feel that there's a gap between their expectations in life and their achievements. I don't think there's many people who can say, I wanted to achieve this and I was able to achieve this. There's a gap. There must be a gap, because if you want to achieve something and you got there, you probably go on to achieve more. But it's not something that is exterior to yourself. A lot of the times what we want to achieve is things that we care about. How to be closer to God, how to be better with our families, how to have more patience with our kids. During this last COVID year, I think many parents, including myself, felt what it's like to be with your kids 24/7. How were we there? Were we able to stay in that moment, stay with our kids, or we ran away to our computers and to our phones? So by standing there in Rosh Hashanah on a personal level, you feel a summary of what you went through. But the truth is, it's much wider than that. Because Rosh Hashanah, it's not about me and my family. It's a pure reflection of the whole world and the whole nation. In Rosh Hashanah, we stand there as people. And the people, in all our prayers, we always use the plural way of speaking. It's us. It's about us. It's we. It's never me, myself. On Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, there's going to be a personal level of what I did, how I managed. But in Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the year, it's not personal at all. It's a question of where we stand as a nation, as people, in front of you, God the Almighty. And the truth is, there are many ways to look at God in that sense. And in our prayers, there's a prayer that we say many times in Rosh Hashanah. It's called Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King. These two elements are different. The Father element is something close, just here, nearby. We have a connection. And a king is something out there, far, strong, that we stand in awe in front of him. The holiday's biggest, most important mitzvah command is this guy over here. You know him? It's the shofar. A shofar is made from the horn of an animal, of deers usually. I'm not sure what's the name of in English. Ayil. There are different animals you can make this actually from. I actually recommend next time you're in Israel, you see this place called Shofar. It's a place in the Golan Heights, which beautiful explanations of how they're being made. You see a live demonstration. I bought mine there. And this is something we do on Rosh Hashanah. There's 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, and every day there's a person, a tokea, who is blowing the shofar, and basically we need to hear 100 voices from this. The voices are separated into 3 different voices: Tkuah, Tkiah, Shvarim. I'm not going to blow the shofar as my kids are sleeping already. They're going to wake up frightened. It's something like this. It goes, doo, tkiya, one straight line. Tua, three separate lines. Doo, doo, doo. And shvarim are a lot of broken signals. And that repeats itself and repeats itself. The truth is, we need a couple of hours to go in depth to the very different notions and explanations. What is the shofar? Why are we blowing it? Why the different voices? What do they represent? We don't have many hours. I want to keep it short. But I want to go and look a bit deeper to the story of the shofar. So the shofar has many explanations, and if you're going to go online, search why do we blow the shofar, you will see a lot of reasons around it. But I want to try to look at a couple of them that are a category in the different explanations. So the first one is the story of what I said about being us as a public, as a nation, looking in front of God and looking him as a king. There's a custom till this day, you can see it in Big Britain, that when there's a king and he arrives, you blow trumpets, but you blow with a lot of noise. A noise that is dedicating you and focusing you to this announcement. The king has arrived. The king is in the building. By blowing the shofar, we are recalling how a king is here among us. More than that, when in the ancient times there was time of war, before the troops would arrive, they would blow the shofar and make a lot of noise, signing, we are coming, there's a big power coming. This kingdom feeling, accepting him as a king, reviving the explanations that God is among us, a king is among us, is one of the biggest reasoning behind the blowing of the shofar. It's an explanation, an understanding that God is here, that God, the king, is here among us. Second explanation is something more inner, and that's basically the wake-up call. When you hear such a voice, just as my kid would wake up, you wake up. Something inside of you wakes up. It starts with your heart and your ears and your soul, and you're there getting it. There's a strong voice, a siren that wakes you up and tells you, my friend, why are you sleeping? Do you understand that in a couple of days, a couple of hours, you're going to stand in front of God? Do you understand what it means? Do you understand where are you standing? Wake up, my friend. When somebody hears this voice, but hears it with his deep soul, he is able to wake up. Something inside of him shakes him a bit. When you hear the shofar blown, you cannot sit in silence. Something inside of you is being shaken. Another way to look at the shofar, if it's not from the kingdom perspective, and it's not from the waking up perspective, it's almost the voice. The voice that you hear, it's something very natural. Think about it. You don't need to be a professional musician to play this. Some fresh hair inside of you, just you put the lips in the right place, and something come of it which is really raw, really not developed. This voice, which is a raw, undeveloped voice, not so musical, is a voice that reminds you and connects you to the inner voice, or the smallest, simple voice of maybe a baby crying, maybe a mother crying, something which is not developed, a voice like an animal shouting in the forest. We're going to stand in front of our God, and we have this connection towards Him. And we're trying to look at ourselves and the way we behaved and what we did this year with our life. When you hear this natural voice, you go to this premature moment, a natural phenomenon of like a voice that comes from deep down, like a scream of an animal. It's not something you can say in word. What can we say when we stand in front of the Lord? But when you hear this voice, something echoes to your soul and out. Something that shakes and stirs things up. The biggest common reasoning, and people will say to you, is connected to an ancient story that happens in the Bible, happens on the day of Rosh Hashanah. And I'm talking about the binding of Isaac. You remember the story how Abraham takes Isaac into the mountains with God asking him to sacrifice his son, his only son. Now, remember, Abraham is being promised to have a nation coming out of him. He's already 75 when he's being told, then 90, then 100. And now this young son is going to be the fulfillment of the prophecy of God, but now you need to slaughter him and you need to sacrifice him. But that's what Abraham does. He goes to that mountain, he's putting him where he needs to put him, and then he hears the voice of God asking him to stop, and he sees an ayal ne'echaz basfach. This animal, this deer, is stuck in the bushes, and his shofar and his horn is stumbled there somehow. So by blowing the shofar, we almost want to remind God the story of the binding of Isaac. That's what the majority of explanations are going to talk about. But what is it in that binding story that needs to connect us all the way through? And now is it so crucial to do it in Rosh Hashanah? I think there's different reasons always, but I'll share with you what I think. All of the times when you're standing in front of God and when you're calculating what you did through the year, you can blame yourself. I did wrong, I did this, I did that. Sometimes we need to be like Abraham. Do what you need to do. Do what you're asked to do. The end results, the actual end of it, put it in God's hands. Abraham does everything. He's being asked to, but he takes him. Go to the mountain, he goes to the mountain. Put him here, he puts him. He does everything. In the last moment, I'm doing what God wants. And I did all the process, and now if God's going to take it to a different turn, I'm going to do it. Throughout the year, we're trying to achieve so many things, but sometimes we need to know when to release. We are able and we should take responsibility on the actions, not on the results. And just like the result of the story of binding of Isaac was nothing. He went, and then no climax, no end goal. Put it in God's name. Put it in God's words and hands and actions. Don't take responsibility on that. Furthermore, we need to practice how we are giving all of powers to Hashem, to God. Think about this notion of giving up your dream. God promised you have a dream. No, I'm putting your will before mine. And third, I think most important, that's something that we add to our prayers in every prayer in Rosh Hashanah, is it's not because of us. It's with the merit of our forefathers. The forefathers of ancient time and the forefathers of last decades and the forefathers of 100 years ago. You think about it, when you stand there in front of God and when you stand there as a person, you're not by yourself. There are ancient people, there are giants behind you that you stand on their shoulders. And you're connecting to God. And what they went through, what they passed, is only something that pushes you towards fulfilling your tradition, your ambitions, and your prayers. And when you're standing there and you're almost reminding the story of the binding of Isaac, you say, look what is the story here. That's the merit of our fathers. Look what they had to go through to be your nation. This is the person you collected, you chose to start your nation. Do you remember what I went through? Now you want to see me? I'm trying, doing everything I can. To finish up my explanations, which are very short, and there's much more to extend, is a story, a Hasidic story. You know, the Hasidic movement loved to tell stories and felt that by telling a story you can connect the message more than words and explanations. And the story goes as follows. There was a small village where the head of the village, the mayor, call it the richest person in the village, would call once a year a very poor family and brought them into the event of the year. I might, just a second. What was the event of the year? The event was traditionally to bring him into a big meal, a feast, and the person would accept everything possible in that meal, and he would always go home with a surprise. That was a legend, because people went to that meal and you never heard them when they came back because they became rich and they just left the poor neighborhood. So if you won the lottery to go to this event, you know you're satisfied, you're good. So one year, this poor schlepper, a poor family, a husband and wife, are being kept in this lottery, and they knock on the door. Yosale was his name. You are elected this year to go to this special meal event. Be ready, next week we're going to call you. Oh my, I'm going to go to this event. What a great thing. And he's being dressed with the best way he has, and he goes to this meal, and before that the wife tells him, don't be fooled, don't be stupid, take something that was worthwhile. Don't be stupid. That's an opportunity. And he goes to this meal, and into a castle, and there's like a huge table. And he sits in one side of the table, and the rich person sits on the other side. And the rich person says, are you ready? He says, I am ready. So he takes a small bell, you know, this old-fashioned bell, and he's like, gling, 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 gling. He does the gling, gling, and from the kitchen, 20 servants come and puts on the table every imaginable food. Salads and breads. Unbelievable. The poor person eats like crazy, finishes half of it. Are you good? Can we go to the next meal? Next course? Next course? Okay. Gling, gling again. The servants come, 20 servants take everything out, they clean it, and now they bring the main dishes, fish and meat and chicken and everything you can imagine. Wow, and he eats and he's so happy, and they laugh and they talk, and there's musicians in the side. And everything is like made out of gold, all the vessels and the plates, everything. He thinks, I'm going to take this fork, I'm going to be good for 10 years. These plates, wow. When he finishes the main course, the same thing happened again. Gling, gling. They take out everything, they bring up desserts. And he's eating, he's happy, he's drinking. The time of his life. Then when he's all satisfied, they sit there, and this rich person sits, open up his belt and says, Yosaleh, this is your moment. Everything you saw here, everything you see around you, choose one thing. You know the tradition, and it's yours. And the person thinks a bit. Should I take the plate? Should I take the fork? I see a clock there. Maybe the piano. Sir, I want to take the bell. Sorry, come again? The bell. The bell you have on the table, the gling gling. Please give it to me. Okay, sir. You have it. Yosele, come take the bell. It was a pleasure to meet you. Goodbye. And the person, of course, arrives home, comes to his wife so happy and says, our problems are gone. Sit, my wife. She sits, and the person begins gling gling. She says, what did you brought from him? She says, wait, that's what I brought. I brought the bell. Wait, my wife, look what happens now. Gling gling, gling gling, and of course nothing happens. The wife cries, what have you done, Yosele? What have you done? You ruined my life. We had one shot, one opportunity. He says, I don't know what happened. Every time you ring the bell, the servants came and all the food, and I was sure if I'm going to ring it, that's what's going to happen. The wife says, you fool, Yosele, you fool. You don't understand that ringing the bell only showed what you have behind the doors of the kitchen. When you have nothing there, nothing is going to come out. I think that's the strongest message about the shofar. Shofar could be only a voice, or it could represent something we have behind the doors of the kitchen, our heart, our souls. If we would wake up from it, if it's going to make us think of the last year and how we want to improve for next year, this bell, this shofar is going to make its purpose. It's going to wake us up, and it's going to anoint the king. We need to prepare for that. We need to think about it, and to make this Rosh Hashanah and all other holidays important and crucial. That's something we're trying to do in this month before Rosh Hashanah and in the next coming month. I hope you enjoyed my small presentation about Rosh Hashanah. And now, by ringing the bell, I'm going to tell you good night and thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below, as well as on the notification bell, and that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.